to tonight's information evening. So my name's Damien Marinaro. I'm the School Council President at Werribee Secondary College. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're all meeting today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. So tonight we have with us Amanda Mullett, our school principal. We have Bill Hatzis, our assistant principal in charge of senior school, and Dwayne Connell, our director for senior school, Jenny Devereaux, our careers counsellor, and we also have Greg Lentini and Narelle Bean, our assistant principals, who will be on the monitoring the chat for tonight. So I'll hand over to Amanda to kick off with the information evening. As we go through, feel free to add questions to the chat and we'll get to them as we can. So Amanda, over to you.
Okay, now it's telling me I'm sharing the, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, just small.
Yep. Okay, we should be big now. Okay, we've done that bit. Okay. Thank you everybody for coming online tonight, and thank you for Damien for introducing us all. This is our last session online, and I thank parents who have taken the opportunity to use the form that I sent out to pose any questions that you may have. I must say that that parents in year 7 to 10 had many more questions. I think by the time we get to year 11 and 12, you've done quite a number of these type of events and are quite informed. So we had less participation in the questions, but please, if there's anything after this presentation that you need to know, then pop it in the chat. So our middle school team, that should say senior school team, is assistant principals Bill Hatzis and Narelle Bean. We've got two assistant principals there because we've got quite vastly different pathways that students have that undertake, from the International Baccalaureate, the VCE, as well as the VCAL with a VET component. The Director of Senior School is Dwayne Connell. The Year 12 Coordinator is David Orr, and our Year 11 Coordinator is Kelly Jolly. So there's quite a team there to make sure that students across the board, regardless of what pathway they do, are well supported. I'd just like to share with you, because last year was such an unusual year, as we all know, and we didn't know all throughout the year what the results were going to look like, and a lot of work was done with Year 12s in particular to support them along the journey of when they were learning from home, and they were very much put at the top of the priority list for teachers. It was a heavy load for staff to be able to put in. The efforts were huge, but to be able to spend the time that they needed, that's the equivalent at school, was not quite possible. So we really did concentrate on making sure that the Year 12s were fully supported, because they were the ones at the end of the year that were needing to pathway into where they needed to go. But if we have a look at the trends of scores above 90 over the last 3 years, we're very proud of these results, and they're excellent results. So in 2018, we had 30 scores above 90, 25 of those were VCE students and 5 were IB students. In 2019, the numbers were very similar, VCE 26 in the 90s and the IB 5. What happened last year was really, we're very proud of. The students and the teachers worked very hard and still maintained that VCE of 24 students in the 90, but in the IB pathway, we had 12. And this, what is quite remarkable is about the IB, that's 40% of the cohort received a grade in an ATAR in the 90s. So it's quite a small cohort. So it's a high percentage, and they do very well. And our students across the board, regardless of what pathway they take, we're very proud of where they get to. So, and part of this is the VTAC first round offers. So for year 12s, for year 12 parents, this will start to be part of the conversation you have with your children. What is it, the pathway that you want to do next year? Is it a university course? Which university you want to go to? What are you interested in? It might be a TAFE course that they want to continue on with, or it might be going into employment. So our first round offers, so that means that students that put in a request to go to, or their first choice of what their course is, last year we had 98% of our students achieve what they wanted to, their first round choice, which it's really, that's an excellent result. Our Pathways team and our senior team work very hard to make sure that the students are on a pathway and achieve the pathway that they are wanting to go on. And it's really important that students get to choose what their pathway is. And I understand from a parent's point of view that we might think that we know what the children should be doing, but it's very much about what is it that they want to do. They're the ones that are going to have to be doing the jobs that they're choosing for the rest of their lives. So as much as you might want to push them in one direction, I really encourage you to listen to your kids and what is it that they want to do, because they're going to be most successful in the areas that they enjoy. This next slide is about our VCAL program. So I've said we've had, and some of you on here tonight will have students doing the IB, the International Baccalaureate, or the VCE, which is the Victorian Certificate of Education. Both will get an ATAR at the end. In our VCAL, which is we see as equally as important as the other two pathways, is for students that are wishing to do an apprenticeship or are wishing to go into the workforce straight after they finish school. So we have outstanding figures when it comes to the VCAL pathways. If you have a look at this pie graph, it tells me last year's students, 7 of them went straight into employment, 14 of them went on to further education. So that means they probably went into TAFE and continued on with their certificates that they probably started in their VET. 5 of them went straight into an apprenticeship or a traineeship, and 1 of them off to another pathway, which does include the Defence Forces. What we also need to take into consideration here is that this cohort of students, when they were year 11s, 10 of them got an apprenticeship while they were in year 11. So the pathway doesn't have to necessarily be at the end of year 12, particularly for these students. We see that as a real success when students are able to go out into the workplace and employers say, we really want this young person to be an apprentice. They love what they're doing and they're given that opportunity. So we consider all 3 to be equal. You may have heard, it's been in the news, the government have put into place, excuse me, a tutoring learning initiative. And that's for 2021 only, where they've spent millions of dollars of giving schools extra money to be able to employ tutors or extra staff to be able to support students that might have fallen behind because they, for various reasons, weren't able to keep up with the schoolwork, or the situation at home might have been very difficult to allow for that to happen. Sometimes the mental health issues we've certainly seen that that's increased, and we're supporting students there. And also for students that do really well, that felt that they might have not done as well as what they really wanted to because they weren't having that face-to-face learning. So it's not just tutoring for students that might have missed out and not kept up. It's for students that didn't reach the heights that they thought that they would have done if they were at school. So we've set a structure in place that it's a bit different from year 7 to 10 and 11 and 12. In 7 to 10, we're withdrawing students out of class over 5-week periods, 3 times per week. So, and we very much do that so that it doesn't interrupt too much of their learning in their classes. We don't take them out of the same class all the time. In our maths classes, we've got extra teachers or tutors going into those classes. so working with small groups of students. We also highlighted, and we have a large amount of students doing chemistry and biology, that we've put in place extra supports where students can have drop-in sessions that they don't have to go to, but by year 11 and 12, students are very aware of if they're having problems understanding particular things, and we're finding that they're taking themselves off to these extra tutorial sessions to get the help that they need. I've spoken to all year 12 classes. I've met them online, which I continue to do each term, just to check in and say, how are you going? And a number of students have told me that they're attending these sessions, not every week, but when they've found the need for it, they've found them very worthwhile to have a teacher that they can go and get one-on-one help with outside of their classroom. So that appears to be working. We've also got VCE maths support. So Mr. Boddington, who some of you might know, he retired at the end of last year, but we unretired him and said, would you like to be a maths tutor, which he was rapt to do. So he's got years and years of experience of doing all the levels of maths, particularly at VCE. So, and students warm to Mr. Boddington very well. So they're very happy to go off, and he's doing the tutoring for maths. We're also got after school homework support that can be varied, whatever students might need. So we've got these structures set up to try and catch those students that need that extra support. And we will be evaluating what we've done at the end of term. And this has pretty much been the conversation I've had with a number of principals in the area, that it came out with not a lot of structure. We had to put the structures in place ourselves. So we think we've got it right for our school, but we will evaluate that at the end of term and put into place or make changes if we think that there's a problem area or an area that we can do better. So this is just for 2021, and we find that students are finding the benefits of it. I'll pass over to Dwayne Connell now, and he'll just talk about Compass.
Hi, for those who don't know, as Amanda said, I'm Dwayne Connell. I'm the Director of Senior School. With Compass, it's really our important communication platform. So it allows us to communicate a two-way level of communication. So if you access Compass, you'll see emails for all your teachers, for all your students' teachers, where you can contact them if there's any concerns. But it also allows you to, I suppose, keep an eye on how your child's going with their results. If you go into each subject, you'll be able to see the learning tasks or the marks that have been put in there for your child. So it allows you to keep up to date. Allows you to see if there's any work that hasn't been submitted, if any work's been late. It also allows you to, hopefully not, but if there's anything that might be flagged in terms of their behaviour, we put everything on there that you will be able to see in terms of detentions, if they're late to class, if they've had their mobile phone they've had to hand in. So this year we've obviously tightened up with the use of the mobile phone since the government brought in legislation, and you know, if it gets to 3 times, we have to make sure that parents come and pick up their phone. So it would be good if you see that as a bit of a warning before it gets there. But the most thing with year 11s and 12s, the behaviour things aren't really that big of an issue. It's more just making sure that you have a look at the assessment tasks and the results, and contacting the teachers to make sure there's any issues. The other thing with Compass this year that we've done is if there's any excursions, then all permissions are done online. So you'll need to log in and give the permission online. You can't log in the student account. It has to be in the parent account for that, the payments and permissions. So what I'd like to, I suppose, focus on there is it's the communication that we really like to use Compass for, and it's that two-way communication where we put things up for your information, but also you have access to email teachers as well if you want to contact them. In terms of reports, and this year we've increased our progress reports, so there'll actually be 2 each term. So you'll have a mid-year one that will come out next week, one towards the end of this term, just before parent-teacher reviews. There'll be one halfway through next term, and then obviously the main end-of-year report at the end of semester. So on those, it's just that constant check-in just to make sure that we're catching any students who might be struggling a little bit, but also so those students that are doing well get that reward and see how well they're going. There's not a lot of information on those sheets. It's just a matter of are they progressing as expected and are they applying themselves as well as they should. With that, you'll have parent-teacher interviews at the end of semester one and at the end of term 1 and 3, and we really encourage you to make those. And I know sometimes with the senior kids, it might be a little bit seen as not needed, but especially with the year 12s, it's really a good check-in time to say, okay, where are we going? What needs to be done now for the rest of the semester to make sure that we're on track? So the term 1 interviews this year will be online. So similar to last year, we found that was a really positive platform and allowed parents to access it from work if they were stuck at work, or even just from home with kids and things like that. So that was something that we found was a really positive that came out of COVID last year. I'll move on to the exams now. So exams this year, there is 2 lots of exams. So at the end of each semester for both year 11s and 12s, there'll be for VC and IB students. VCAL students don't do exams. So the way that we conduct them is very much in line with the way VCAR conduct their exams. The year 12 exams, we get external people to even come in and supervise the internal exams. This allows the students to get that feeling of having people in the room that they might not necessarily know, they can't ask questions to, that they might if they had their subject teacher in there, and all that. And, you know, making sure they abide by the rules. So they have clear pencil cases, clear drink bottles, just the basics that make them feel like they're getting a trial run for their VCAR exams. It's really important with the expectations that students understand that they're serious and that they, for some subjects, they can contribute to an S or an N. And we need to make sure that students take them seriously, and they are compulsory. So we expect that every student's there, like any SAC at school. If there's a SAC that's done, they need to have a medical certificate if they miss that. If they don't bring a medical certificate or get an approved absence, then unfortunately they would not get a score for that task, and it would be the same for the exams. So just with that, so things like holidays and things like that, we don't allow students to get an approved absence for those. So we have that expectation that students are there for all assessment tasks and achieve that 90% attendance.
Dwayne, I should have put on there the GAT. Can you just explain what that General Achievement Test or Assessment Test is?
Yeah, so the GAT this year is on June 9, I think it is. So the GAT is really important, and it was so important last year because we just didn't know what was going to happen with the exams. But it's really an insurance policy. It gets the students to get that assessment done, that if they, for some reason, they miss their exam at the end of the year, we don't know what's in front of us. So if there's an emergency at the end of the year and they can't sit their end of year exams, then VCAR use the GAT as well as their SACs to calculate a score for the student, so they don't miss out on getting that score just because of that emergency that happened at the end of the year. So it is really important that the students take it seriously. We set that they have to stay for a minimum of 2 hours, so no students allowed to leave before 2 hours. And so it's made up of 2 English essays, and I think it's 75 multiple choice questions from all different areas, and that can be very random. And some students in certain areas have no idea of how to answer those questions, but that's okay because they're probably not doing subjects in that area. But it is really important that the students take it very seriously, because it is that insurance policy to make sure that they've got that backup if something happens towards the end of the year. I'll just add in there too, which you haven't got there either, Amanda, is special exam arrangement. So students who suffer from some sort of illness, whether it be mental health, whether it be diabetes, whether it be a back problem, just that they can't sit the exam under normal circumstances or with in the same level as other students, then we need to apply for rules for them to do that. So whether it be they need to stand up and stretch, for instance, because they've got a back problem, we need to actually get approval for them to stand up and stretch. Whether it be because of anxiety, they can't walk into an exam room, well, then we need to get approval for them to sit in a separate room. So if if your child it falls into those categories, or if you think they fall into those categories, we need to apply for that before the 1st of April. So if that is you, then please encourage your child to come and see us so we can apply for that now. I'm just having a look at the question there. It says, if the GAT was done last year, do they need to do it this year? Yes, they do. They need to do it every year that they're doing a 3-4 subject. So if your child did a 3-4 subject last year, they would have had to sit it. And then this year, they'll be fully doing a Year 12 program. So they will need to sit it again.
Thanks, Dwayne. Okay, I've got Jenny Devereaux is here, and I'll let you speak to this slide and tell us a little bit about Year 11 and 12 careers and pathways.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda. Hello, everyone. I'm Jenny Devereaux, the Careers Counsellor at Werribee Secondary. A significant amount of my work involves Year 11 and 12s, as you can imagine, as they're pathwaying off after they leave school. The pictures here just demonstrate people who work in the careers team. So there's myself as the careers counsellor. I'm full-time in that role. Claire Garmes, who's also a VCE teacher, she has 4 periods a week to work in junior careers. Gabby Pino, who some of you may have dealt with, she is our vet coordinator. So she is responsible for vocational education and training. So all of our VCAL students do a vet subject. They must do one of those, and also some of our VCE students do a vet subject as well. So that is a subject that they need to be enrolled in, and they sometimes do at Werribee Secondary, but often leave site to do that subject. And they also are required in many instances to do a work placement. So she assists students with that. And the last person there is T. Montague, who is a careers assistant who is in the office part-time, who does admin and is responsible for work experience. So that's the team, and my office is in the main admin wing of the building. So my office is behind the assistant principals, and it's a place where students can come for information and also come to make appointments with me and with other people if need be within the careers team. So I'll take you through some of the things that are happening with Year 11s and 12s this year. So for the Year 11s, because last year there were so many, because of the lockdown, normally I would take all of the Year 10s to a local careers expo in May of that year. But what I've decided to do this year is, because the Year 10s, because the Year 11s missed out on that last year, I think it's a really valuable experience. So instead of taking Year 10s this year, I'm going to take the Year 11 cohort. There's 300 of them, as some of you might be aware, but we're intending to go there in week 5 of term 2. So you'll have some forms to sign, and we'll organise buses so that they can come along to that. So it's a really good opportunity for students to talk to all the different universities, all the TAFEs, the Defence Forces attend, the police attend, industry groups attend, also people such as in apprenticeship groups, etc. So a really varied experience, and lots of things where students can find out lots of information. So that will be in week 5 of next term. And then in term 3, normally I would take or organise for all Year 11 students to do 2 days of careers activities early in term 3, and we will continue with that this year as well. So on those 2 days, they will do careers activities at school with me, like understanding what VTAC is and the process of applying and investigating courses, but also other activities as well that are essential. They'll listen to some representatives from some different universities, and they'll also, over those 2 days, be going out to excursions to some universities as well. So that will take 2 days in, I think, about week 3 of term 3. So that's really important that all the Year 11s attend those and get the most out of them. And as Amanda said earlier, they all have very varied pathways of where they want to go. And I'm available to assist Year 11s, and I've seen a number of Year 11s already, but I welcome them and to make appointments with me. And I also chase them and have appointments with them, especially sometimes if they're struggling or not sure what they want to do, or, you know, I've just got lots of questions. So that assistance is available. And for year 12s, as I said before, they take a considerable amount of my time is spent with year 12s, and that's really important because we want all of the students, doesn't matter what course they do, but we want them all to transition into something that they want to do after year 12. So that does take some time, and it means I meet with every single year 12. So I think there's about 250 of them this year. Sometimes I'll only need to meet with students once, but on other occasions I might meet with them more than once, you know, depending on what their particular desires are or what their issues are. So I've started those appointments this week. I have to start very early to get them all done by the end of September, which is when all the students' VTAC applications for the following year need to be in. Sometimes parents don't realise this, but VTAC is a process where students must apply from about August. It doesn't open for students until August of every year, and their preferences must be completed by the end of September. But I do many interviews in the lead up to that, and we discuss what they'd like to preference, and usually students get 8 preferences as to where they want to go to university. I'll be honest with you, the majority of our VCE and IB students do want to go straight into a bachelor's degree to university. And as you saw from the statistics earlier, many of them do. But also some of our VCAL students go through the VTAC system as well because they do want to go on to TAFE and they use that system. So the students apply in term 3, then I usually say to them, forget about it for now and then worry about it when after you've finished your exams, and we have meetings in term 4 if need be. And then I assist students. This year it was over the Christmas holidays, but hopefully they'll get their results before Christmas this year. That would be lovely. And I assist them through change of preference so that they finalise their preferences and then they get their university offers in the January holidays. Excuse me. Also for VCAL students, they have a different pathways, and so we might apply directly to places if they want to go to TAFE. I assist them if they'd like to apply for apprenticeships. Sometimes it's been great. This week, actually, one of our ex-year 12s just got an apprenticeship, and a year 11 boy is going for an apprenticeship. And often, not always, but we have businesses approach us sometimes and say, look, we're looking for an apprentice, 2 carpentry apprentices. Do you have anyone that might be interested? So I sort of facilitate that as well. So the VCAL students go to a variety of different areas, and I just assist with that also. So that's careers basically in year 11 and 12, and it's an important time for students to think. Sometimes they change their mind, and that's okay, but they hopefully all know where they'd like to head by the end of year 12. So that's my main aim. So nice to speak to you, and as I said, if you have any questions, please ring us or contact us. That would be great.
Thank you, Jenny. There's a number of transport questions I find that are quite similar across all of our year levels, and it's about the bus routes. So I just want to let you know that we don't set the bus routes at the college. Mr. Lentini oversees the students that get on the bus and things like that for our college and others, but he actually doesn't set where the buses go. There are remote areas that have no public transport, and that's where you find that the contract buses that come in, the big long orange buses in the morning, they're contract buses that are put out into the remote areas purely because there's no public transport there where students have access. It's up to the Public Transport Victoria to decide whether to run extra buses. Sometimes they do on their bus route to be able to accommodate for the general public, but as well knowing at those peak times that there's a lot of students in that area in the morning getting to school or going home from school. So they work in conjunction together. There was a question about making a contact group for parents maybe on WhatsApp about supporting kids to get to school. Unfortunately, that's not something that the school can run. It's not something that that we put in place. So it's not. We've got the public transport, but we can't set up a WhatsApp for parents to be able to use. As well as the traffic in the front of the school, I agree that it's very difficult in the morning. But again, the signage and where people can turn is not something that we can put our own signs up to say you can't do a left hand or a right hand turn. So there's some things that are just beyond our control. I certainly agree that it would be good to be able to have that area a bit larger and more manageable, but at present, it's not something that the school has much control over. You might have noticed, especially since you may have children that have started a number of years ago, our website last year had a bit of a makeover. And the website we're aiming to get as a one-stop shop that is always up to date, so that you know that if you have a question or you're wondering about what's coming up, that you can go to the website and it gives you accurate information. I know from personally, when you log on to websites and you see out-of-date information, it's not very helpful. So I have somebody employed at the school to manage the website, and it's continually improving, and we're getting more and more online of parents that you can access things through the website. So it does take time to build these things. I have no ability to build it. I just say, can you do this? And it seems to be that we're getting there and getting things done. So please have a look at the website. If you have got questions, then it is a good place to start. For contacts for your students, if you've got academic concerns about individual subjects, then as Dwayne said earlier, you have all the teachers' emails on your Compass. So you will have the ability to be able to contact individual teachers. If you say that you're a bit worried about multiple subjects or are wanting more information across the board about your child, then your year level coordinator, also via email, is the best place to start. If you call the school, you're not guaranteed to be able to speak to the teacher. All the coordinators also have a teaching load. So, and they have, whilst they have time to be coordinating, if they're in class, they're not able to take phone calls, which can be frustrating if you can't get on to the person when you call. So if you can leave an email with a contact number, I guarantee the coordinators and the senior school director, if you go to Dwayne, will get back to you. So if you have wellbeing concern, also contact your year level coordinator. I haven't got wellbeing staff on here tonight, but we've got a vast array of wellbeing staff to support students. We've got numerous social workers. We've got a school nurse that comes in for 3 days a week as well now. We've got an educational psychologist that's there for 2 days a week, and 3 social workers. So we have got a lot of supports for students. If you're worried in any way or seeing any differences in your children, please reach out, because we have got the ability to be able to support students with the appropriate qualified people that can support them in whatever issues they may be having. And even down to, I spoke to the year 12s and I asked them, what time are you going to bed at night? And it's a bit of a mum question, but as a mum, you know, it's a question that I ask, and I get told various things. Sometimes I say, oh, I go to sleep at 10:30. Others are telling me that I'm up 12:30, 1 o'clock. And my response to that is that that's not okay, because we all need sleep, and sleep is the best way to relax our mind, to rejuvenate itself for the next day. So watch what your kids are doing. I know that they have a heavy workload, but just watch out for them. And if we're having lots and lots of late nights, it does catch up to them. So really encourage that sleep early. And I say to them, like I do with the juniors, put the phone away, because the lights on phones keep us awake. So, and I know if you look at your phone late, you know, it brightens up the whole room, but that's what brightens up their minds again and gets them racing. So please just monitor and make sure that they encourage them to have some really good sleep patterns. And the breakfast in the morning, I can't say is, you know, they've got to eat. We have had students at different times walking in the morning with a V, and it's full of caffeine that mums and dads probably don't know that they're having, but we have suggested that these aren't okay at school because they're not healthy. So we're really trying to get the message out there that proper sleep is really important at year 11 and 12 especially, but also is really good nutrition. So if you could just help them out by monitoring that, that would be great. On here is the year 11 coordinator's details of an email: Kelly Jolly, year 12, David Orr, and the director of senior school, Dwayne Connell. This PowerPoint will be being sent out to parents. So if you need to go back and have a look at that, or if you need to know who those names are or what the email address is, they're all the same. If you know our first name and our last name, which your students will, so it's just their first name dot last name at education.vic.gov.au. We're pretty much all the same. So if you want to make contact and you've forgotten a name, just ask the kids because they know who we all are. So I think that's over to you now, Damien, just for how parents are involved in the school.
Sure. Thanks, Amanda. So hopefully over the number of years that you've been with the school, you may be aware of College Council. You might have seen our items in the newsletter or seen us around. So we are one of those ways that parents can get involved with the school, and the College Council itself has a number of important jobs to do with the school. So we help set the broad direction for the school. We look at the school policies. We monitor the finances and the budget work, and we also look at the school's physical environment. So College Council, as you saw recently, is through nomination and elections to positions. That involves parent representatives as well as staff representatives. But we're not the only way that you can interact with the council and with the school itself. The council also operates or conducts its business through a number of committees. And those committees are structured around the things that I just mentioned, so such as the policies through our curriculum management committee, and our finance committee looks at the finances of the school, oversees the budget and the spending at the school, and we have an environment committee that looks at the physical grounds. So a lot of the recent improvements around the school comes through the environment committee, and as well as the wellbeing side of the physical environment. And we have our parents and friends committee. So with these committees, they don't require any kind of nomination or election. They're open to the community members, so such as yourselves. So we're always interested to hear from you, and it's a matter of speaking to the principal, speaking to Amanda, if you have an interest in a particular area or would like to see how you can contribute. I know particularly around the finance area, we certainly have need of people with a good finance literacy or a good head with numbers. So I think that's what I wanted to say, but we also want to hear from you, so you don't have to just be part of the committees. You can feel free to contact your parent representatives at any time. Our names are on the school website, so you can find out our details there. If you need to get a contact, you can either get that through the school office, through Amanda, or you can usually find my contacts in the newsletter. And you can find an email to contact me. We're always willing to hear from you if there are any issues, if you have any particular viewpoints on things that the council is considering, or things that are happening around the school. So please do get in touch with us, or please do find out about the committees and see how you can contribute, even if these are the last year or two of your children being at Werribee Secondary College. We're always open to having more people involved.
Thank you, Damien. That's the end of our presentation. As I'm just wondering, if I give you a minute, if there's any questions that you need to put in the chat, feel free to do that. I know the assistant principals are probably, it seems to be the pattern that they chat to you along the way. Oh, I hope you got audio, Jody. So Greg suggested that there's also Soldiers Reserve or College Road if to be dropping off students, if that will help you. Good to see, Jody, that you heard us. That's good. Well, I'm not seeing any more chat questions there. I thank everybody for coming on, and I wish you and all the students the best for their Year 11 and 12 journey, where our fingers are crossed that we're confident and hope that this year goes very smoothly. And but please know that if there are any hiccups, that we're very capable after our learning last year to be able to swing into action and make sure that our senior students are supported. So once again, thank you for your contribution tonight to questions that I put out there, and you more than welcome at any time to be contacting us to make any inquiries or questions that you have. So thank you to my team for coming on tonight. I appreciate your support, and they've done 3 nights, so thank you very much. And that's pretty much it from us. Thank you.